Well, hey folks, Real Honesty with John Ritlin. You saw my favorite managers list, which will be a second part to that, where I talk about more managers that I personally enjoyed. Now you're going to see the side that features the ones that I didn't care for at all. My least favorite managers. Honestly, some of these may be bodyguards, but I'm just going to put them in the manager role anyway. There are some that I'm just going to omit simply because I didn't see enough of their work, or because there's a ton of matches. I probably could do these and just rank every single one from worst to best, but there were some I didn't see, or some that personally didn't affect me one way or the other, so why put them on this list? Or why put them on my favorite list? That doesn't mean that their contributions aren't any good, it just means that I personally wasn't affected one way or the other. But these 16 in particular, just for one reason or another, are ones I just didn't care for. So let's get cracking on with this list. Number 16, Tiger Ali Singh. Nothing against the guy. I'm sure he was a good enough worker. He wasn't really a great manager. I mean, yeah, he did manage Lowdown, but he wasn't a very good wrestler. He wasn't a very good manager. I just never personally cared for the guy. He was a decent enough talker, but it wasn't great. None of his promos were great. He wasn't really great at getting himself over. I never really cared for the guy. I just didn't. I didn't hate the guy as a person. I just never cared for him. Number 15, Virgil. Virgil was the shits. The one time that he was over was when he waffled Ted DiBiase with the $1 Million belt at, the Royal Rumble 91, which was a great moment. I get goosebumps thinking about that pop. That pop was insane, and it really did show that people were finally happy to see Virgil beat up Ted DiBiase, and it was a great moment. The problem is him as a bodyguard, he wasn't a very good worker. He wasn't very good in WWE or WCW, and he was, the NWO's crash test dummy, essentially. I mean, he would take bumps for everybody. He would try to run in there. He would not do very well. I think him and Stevie Ray even had a match when they tried to put Virgil in the ring, and I think it was at Uncensored 99, and that was crap. Just Virgil was one of those guys where it's really who you know as to why he was in the business that long. Because I'm not saying that the guy wasn't an athlete, but he wasn't good in the ring, and he definitely wasn't good as a manager. He was just there. He was there for as long as he was in the wrestling business. Besides that moment with Ted DiBiase, I can't think of really any positive thing that he was part of where he wasn't just squashed within 2 minutes. But yeah, he wasn't a very good wrestler, and he definitely wasn't a very good bodyguard or manager or whatever. Anyway, number 14, Sonny Ono. Just never cared for the guy. He seems like a nice guy in interviews. I'm going to say that much. He seems like a very nice guy in interviews. He seems very gracious. He seems like he respects the wrestling business. So this isn't a knock against the person. I just thought that his gimmick and everything, and just him being him managing Ultimo Dragon or managing against Ultimo Dragon and this kind of stuff, or going against Jerry Flynn, I believe. Or managing guys against Jerry Flynn, which Jerry Flynn, there's somebody where, no, not Lynn, it wasn't him, it was Jerry Flynn. Very, very odd time in WCW. Yeah, Ono, I just really did not care for. Just something about him rubbed me the wrong way, and his character, not the person himself. Just to me, I was okay, he was a manager, and he was just there, and he didn't generate the type of heat where, I'm glad to see him get beat up. It's oh, good, he got beat up. Maybe he won't be on TV. Maybe they can get somebody interesting in here. Yeah, he wasn't really that interesting. Number 13, Cyrus Don Callas. I have nothing against Don Callas, the commentator or the businessman. I know that he's helping run Impact Wrestling. He's an excellent commentator for New Japan, but I never really cared for him in ECW either. I mean, he was good on commentary a little bit, but a lot of times he would just go overboard with the heel stuff. I just never cared for it. Now, granted, he's in the wrestling business, I'm not, and the vast majority of people doing videos like this, I'm not going to claim to know more than him, and I'm not going to do that. But he just mostly annoyed me, and not annoyed me okay, hey, I want to see this guy get beat up. No, it's just dude, go away. You're irritating. You're not putting enough people over. And I mean, as the character Cyrus. Now, as the announcer or the commentator Don Callas, he's doing tremendous stuff. But the whole Truth Commission thing, his, being the network executive in ECW actually was probably his best run. I just never cared for Cyrus. I just never thought he was that good. Him and Joey Styles on commentary were okay, but Styles to me by himself is always better. I just never cared for Cyrus. But he did get some good heat. I'll give him that much. I just never cared for him. Number 12, Paul Jones. One of the best workers of like maybe the 70s and stuff like that, but he had suffered a back injury, so they decided to make him a manager. He was, I believe, TV champion a couple times. He worked well in the 70s, like in the 60s and 70s and stuff like that. He just wasn't a very good manager, and he wasn't the worst talker, but he wasn't the best talker. The Paul Jones Army was pretty shit. Not necessarily so much the talent, but just the idea you're forming all these factions. And Paul Jones just wasn't a great catalyst for for people to get over. Just as a manager, I mean, as a worker, he was what little bit I've seen of the guy, and mostly stuff on YouTube. He was a decent enough worker that worked well enough with guys. I don't know, just as a manager, was not really that good or that interesting. Number 11, Vince Russo, because any manager list, whether it was him just being a manager barely in WCW or like, being the authority figure, or being a manager like, for Styles or Sports Entertainment Extreme, SEX, because that's the kind of immature shit that Vince Russo did for wrestling. Hate Vince Russo, by the way. I hope that he is having a miserable time. I just don't like Vince Russo. I don't. Have I made that clear? Vince Russo is an idiot. He's a goddamn idiot. But just his brief time managing, that's why he's on here, because Vince Russo really was one. Sure, he managed to get people to be, Vince McMahon to realize people need to be themselves more. I'm not saying every single thing that Vince Russo did for the wrestling business was horrible, but the bad far, far outweighs the good. And yeah, him as a manager, he's a terrible talker, uncharismatic. Really, you just wanted to see the guy get destroyed. He wasn't good at generating the right type of heat. He was always in the business for himself. I can't name one guy that he ever got over as a manager. Sorry, his time with AJ Styles being a heel, that would have worked without Vince Russo. Vince was just not the type of guy to get anybody over. It just was shit. Anyway, number 10, Bill Alfonso. Really and I guess he did his job here, but just Bill, the constant whistling, the fact that he sounded like he gargled gravel every time he talked. I don't know. Maybe the guy was legit sick, and I hope that wasn't the case. I hope that was just his natural voice and it was just rough. But working with Sabu and RVD and I'm sure a couple other people, it was nice to see Beulah beat the shit out of him. That was pretty cool. But yeah, just all the whistling and all that kind of stuff. It's like you just want somebody to smash him with a damn chair. Now, yeah, okay, heel managers are supposed to get heat. That's what they're supposed to do. But there's a fine line between getting heat and being just an annoying prick for the sake of being an annoying prick. And that's essentially what he was doing. He was not, to me, he wasn't trying to get his guys over. I don't know. That's just how I took it. I took it as the whole whistling thing. He was allowed to be more his own thing. Do his own thing, rather. He just wasn't good. He just wasn't good. I don't know. I always hated Bill Alfonso, the character. I don't know about the person. Not gonna knock the person, but just as a heel manager, the man calls it right down the middle, daddy. That's not actually how we talk. That's about the closest I can get without destroying my voice. But he just, I don't know, just somebody rubbed me the wrong way also. Number 9, Superstar Billy Graham. He did manage Don Morocco for a very brief time. Superstar Billy Graham should go on a lot of worse lists for being one of the worst people. He's a piece of shit person as far as I'm concerned. Is all upset that the business passed him by because the only reason he got in the business and was successful in the business, besides his talking, was the simple fact that he did roids and got roided up because it sure as fuck wasn't his work. But as a manager, okay, it was a way to keep him on TV since he wasn't really able to wrestle all that much, since his bones had gotten all brittle and stuff like that and gotten beat up due to bumps, and also the simple fact that he roided himself up to no end. Don Morocco was not a good babyface. He was better as a heel, and Billy Graham wasn't going to get him over. It was not a good idea. And Billy Graham as a manager did not last very long, and that's probably for the best. Because like a manager, okay, sure, he could talk. That was all he could do. So it might have been the best role for him, and he didn't even get Don Morocco over that well. So then we go to number 8, Joel Gertner. Sure, he's a nice guy. I'm sure he is. Disgusting looking person, absolutely revolting, never liked the guy on TV. Now, it was pretty cool when he was a ring announcer and he could go between Spanish and English and that kind of stuff. That was pretty cool. He was good at getting under the fan's skin and everything, introducing the Dudleys, but just, I don't know. Joel was like one of those guys, like, why are you here? Like, honestly, why are you fucking here? That's a question I tend to ask with a lot of people in ECW, especially in the later years. And there were some great talents that worked there, don't get me wrong. There was a ton of great talents that worked there. Despite the fact Paul Heyman wasn't a very good businessman, but that's okay. That's another story for another day. Just Gertner was just not good. Not good at all. I mean, my God, it's like yeah, it's the important thing for a heel manager to get under people's skin. Yes, absolutely, but God, Gertner was shit. He was shit, and he wasn't any good. I just found his act pretty stale pretty quickly. Sure, he could cut a promo and stuff like that and make a sexualized promo, and that's really what he did. But after hearing that type of promo 3-4 times in a month, like just on weekly TV and on a pay-per-view, like, okay, yeah, we've heard it. What else you fucking got? Oh, nothing? Yeah, you got nothing. Now we go to number 7, Disco Inferno. Disco Inferno managed people very briefly, especially in Impact Wrestling. Disco's a piece of shit that never belonged in the fucking wrestling business. I'm embarrassed that he was ever in the wrestling business. Absolutely fucking embarrassed. Disco Inferno's a fucking moron. Couldn't talk, couldn't wrestle, was uncharismatic as fuck. Oh yeah, he could do the disco thing and that kind of stuff. He could do that dancing. Him and Alex Wright were great as the dancing fools, which is unfortunate because Alex Wright was a damn good worker. But yeah, Disco Inferno, just his brief managerial time, he's getting on here because Disco's a piece of shit, can't stand the guy, and I'm glad, hoping that nobody bothers to book him. I'm actually disappointed. I believe StarCast, that does the whole thing for All In, is booking him on an appearance, like, at a meet and greet. I thought you were supposed to book stars here. Disco Inferno was never a goddamn star. He's a goddamn piece of shit. And that's all I gotta say about that. And I'll be right back, folks. Alright, folks. Quick little break there. Quick little drink break. And yeah. Disco Inferno's a piece of shit. That's just all I gotta fucking say about that. Now we go to General Adnan. He was the spokesperson for Sergeant Slaughter to Sergeant Slaughter turned heel. Adnan's actually ranked a lot higher here than he should be, but I always found him to be the most unnecessary manager ever. Maybe with the exception of the coach that was there with Mr. Perfect very briefly in 91 until Perfect took time off for a back injury. That's really about the only other unnecessary manager. Adnan was like one of those guys where, okay, great. I mean, he talked, I don't know what the hell he said. I mean, maybe that was part of the idea. He was supposed to be the evil foreigner, but it didn't work to me. It just didn't work. I didn't like it. And yeah, he was pretty shitty. And now we move, to Jonathan Coachman, number 5. The coach managed a few people, I believe, including Garrison Cade, which that didn't get over at all. Oh, and Coach also wrestled and feuded with Tajiri. Gee, it's a wonder that Tajiri ever wanted to come back when they had him work with Coach, who couldn't commentate, talk, or fucking wrestle to save his goddamn life. And he definitely can't commentate now. Fucking Christ, have you heard Coach's commentary lately? Yeah, Jonathan Coachman as a manager was just terrible. He was terrible. I mean, it's like, yeah, okay, people wanted him to get beat up, and he was put in a couple Royal Rumbles and got beat up, and that was great. It was absolutely fantastic to watch him get his ass beat. But, I mean, come on. He wasn't a good manager. He wasn't a good manager at all. Now we get to the top 4, where I'm going to have some real fun here, especially with the top 3. But number 4, Honky Tonk Man. Yeah, the whole rockabilly thing and the whole fact that they had Honky Tonk Man try to have a little bit of a stable. Yeah, it was a stupid idea. It was a stupid idea because Honky Tonk Man was one of the worst goddamn talkers ever. Yeah, okay, he could get heat from people by being a stupid Elvis impersonator, but he wasn't a good worker at all. He could barely bump. Hogan apparently liked him, which I don't quite understand. I mean, maybe it's because he did very little and got a lot out of it. He got a hell of a career out of the Honky Tonk Man gimmick. I will give him credit for that. He's the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. Totally undeserved. Totally undeserved. Absolutely ridiculous. It was a slap in the face to Randy Savage and everybody that held that Intercontinental title before. Slap in the face to Pat Patterson, Pedro Morales, Greg Valentine, who I don't really have much respect for, Tito Santana, and I'm sure that there are some other people I'm forgetting, but that's a pretty good, and I mean, even Ricky Steamboat asked for time off. He had that whole thing, and they dropped it to Honky Tonk, one of the worst workers that Vince McMahon ever had. And yeah, he was a shit worker. He'd get a reaction from the crowd. The crowd wanted to see him get beat up. But the idea was like, okay, let's put the title on this guy. Let's have it on him for like 15 months and barely have him do a goddamn thing. He wasn't any good. I just never understood that. But anyway, back to him as a manager. In 97 is the best use that you're going to have for Billy Gunn, who maybe wasn't the best singles wrestler, but was a dynamite tag team wrestler. And fortunately, him and Jesse James, or Double J, Jesse James, Road Dogg, who would become Road Dogg, Kick, a.k.a. Q, the Peter Griffin Kick, for Roadhouse. But yeah, Honky Tonk Man just being a manager did shit. I mean, he was shit on commentary also. I mean, he's, Rocky, it's like he blew me off. Rocky Maivia blew me off, and he thinks he's going to become the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Rock holding the Intercontinental title in his first reign was better than anything Honky Tonk Man ever did with the IC title. Sorry, you guys can like Honky Tonk Man if you damn well want. That's okay. But yeah, him as a manager, absolute shit. Absolute goddamn shit show. Hate Honky Tonk Man. Have I mentioned that before? So, number 3 is what we're going to go to. Kevin Sullivan. Kevin Sullivan was one of the worst goddamn workers that I've ever fucking seen. Could barely do anything. Oh, sure, he could do the blood and guts stuff. So could Abdullah the Butcher. And I don't have any respect for Abdullah the Butcher. Fat tub of goo that he is. But that's okay. We're not talking about fat shaming here. But he was somebody that, okay, yeah, he was big and fat and could bust people open. Good job. Kevin Sullivan, terrible. Just fucking terrible. He couldn't work. The stomp thing that he did as a finisher was one of the worst finishers. Even though having that disgusting fat fuck land on you would actually probably pretty much hurt no matter how tough you were. And this isn't, and I apologize, by the way, if there are any of my fans, or anybody, I don't have fans, I have viewers. But if there are any viewers that are watching this that think that I'm fat shaming, if you are big, I am not going against you guys at all. I'm picking the obvious flaws of these people I don't like. So I do apologize if this brings any stuff back to the surface of any time you've been fat shamed. I do apologize for that. But I'm talking about Kevin Sullivan, who is a disgusting person. He's a vile person. I've never understood why he was in wrestling as long as he was. The feud they had with Chris Benoit was pretty decent because it was rooted in reality because they really hated each other. Kevin Sullivan was stupid enough to book his own fucking divorce because Kevin Sullivan is a smart person. But him managing the Dungeon of Doom is why he's on here, because the Dungeon of Doom is one of the worst goddamn factions in the world. Period. End of fucking story. There's no goddamn way that anybody could justify that. Anybody could justify that. That's a cartoonish bullshit wrestling with some pretty good talent. I mean, you had what? Faces of Fear were in that, I believe. Barbarian and Ming. You had John Tenta, who was the Shark, or Avalanche. He was one of the two. John Tenta, Earthquake. You had Kamala in there. Unfortunately, Kevin Sullivan was also in there. You had the Yeti that was Ron Reese, actually, with platform shoes or something. That was pretty shit. But yeah, his time in the Dungeon of Doom is part of the reason why he's on here. But also, yeah, he was a manager even a little bit, like even in times when he wasn't there, active member of the varsity club, he would be a manager outside. He wasn't a good worker. He wasn't a good manager. He's a goddamn just disgusting person. Just disgusting. I don't like him. Speaking of disgusting, number 2, Harvey Wippleman. Harvey Wippleman, and I will get into this in a future Times of Wrestling to Piss Me Off Redux show. Yes, I will bring that back at some point. It's only been, as of the recording of this video, it's only been like 2-3 weeks since I did one, so I'm taking some time off from that series. But Harvey Wippleman, I don't know why in the world he was ever given a job, especially in WWE. Apparently him and Giant Gonzalez were friends. Okay, good for them. Good. Honestly, that's really good. But Harvey Wippleman, shit talker. God, his talking just drove me insane. Him on commentary, him managing. It wasn't even like I want to see this guy get beat up. It's just like, why the fuck is this worthless, stupid, dirty, pressure wash needing fuck here? And yeah, Harvey Wippleman, disgusting looking person. And I don't even know if that was intentional. I don't know if that was the look he was going for. I don't know if the guy came dirty out of the goddamn womb and the doctor slapped the mother for having a dirty kid. I don't know what the fuck happened, but all I know is Harvey Wippleman is a goddamn joke. And he managed some people, Giant Gonzalez, he managed other people. He managed Kamala. He's managed various other people, and also him winning the women's title while he was in drag. I don't care if that was his decision or that was somebody else's decision. It's going on Harvey and it's going on whoever made that decision. It was fucking disgusting. It was Santina before Santina existed. Shout out to Have Real and Live, by the way, for reminding me of that. And I have nothing against you, man. I really do appreciate you reminding me. I will talk about that specific thing any times in wrestling to piss me off show. But anyway, Harvey Wippleman, disgusting looking, just fucking nasty, stupid fuck. That's just really what he was. And he wasn't even a good talker. He was not a good talker. I don't know if he still makes appearances at conventions. I don't know if he's still alive. I have no idea. I don't wish death on the guy, but the guy's just a disgusting, vile person that never really should have been in the wrestling business. Sure, he might have been passionate about it, but would anybody really have missed Harvey Wippleman if he wasn't in wrestling? No, I sure as fuck wouldn't. A lot of fans, would you guys have missed Harvey Wippleman if he wasn't there? Seriously. Like, serious question. But he's number 2, so who's number 1? Brother Love. I hate Bruce Pritchard. I don't know exactly what led me to hate him as much, but I always know that I hated the Brother Love character. And then Bruce Pritchard's podcast, which I don't have the best respect for, is what it is. If he has success, whatever. He was in the wrestling business. I wasn't. And a lot of people doing videos like this weren't in the wrestling business. Just a fan's perspective. Brother Love was one of the most annoying fucking characters in the world. Vince McMahon liking it, whatever. Vince also thought the Gobbledygooker was a great idea. And Vince also thought that, pushing Roman Reigns into 4 straight WrestleMania main events was a good idea. And then making Carmella champion was a good idea. Or that, putting up with all of Shawn Michaels' bullshit despite being a low-drawing WWE champion was a good idea. But so he found him finding Brother Love hilarious, whatever. Brother Love was annoying. It was one of those preacher Southern Baptist guys, just with a red face. Then again, that could have just been because his tie was too tight. But him just being a manager or being anything, he managed the Undertaker. He also had his own show and that kind of stuff, his own talk show, which was pathetic. His time as a manager may have been brief, but my fucking Christ, he was awful. And Bruce, of course, Bruce Pritchard being the stooge he is. I just never liked Bruce Pritchard. Have I mentioned that? Can you tell that from the video? The reason he's on here as the worst is because, quite frankly, Bruce Pritchard could have never been on TV, and I wouldn't have fucking missed it. He could have been taken off TV right after the whole thing with Roddy Piper, Morton Downey Jr., I believe that's what his name was. That wasn't a great Piper's Pit segment. That really was terrible. But, yeah, he could have been taken off TV right there, and I wouldn't have fucking missed him. Just Brother Love was garbage. Absolute fucking garbage. But then again, he's played by a garbage person, so why would you fucking be surprised? Anyway, those are my least favorite managers. It got a little angry there towards the end. But again, I didn't wish death on any of them because, you know why? They're people at the end of the day. That's what it is. But they were very, very irritating characters, and they got more irritating as it went on. That's why I decided to say that. And if you have a problem with what I'm saying, please leave a comment. Find me on Twitter. My Twitter handle's in the description. Like, share, subscribe also. It's been Real Honesty with John Ritland, and I will see you soon.